What's up, guys? This is Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall markets. I want to talk about what happened with the market so far, as we did see a bit of a sell-off, but we haven't really lost any major structure yet to turn super bearish yet. Although it is a possibility that it could happen, we have to watch for confirmation. So I'm going to break down what's happening with our economic calendar going into next week and what's happening with the markets thus far. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link that's down below, or sign up with my QR code that's right over here. If you sign up for Moomoo with the link down below and deposit $100, you're going to get $20 of free Nvidia stock. If you deposit $2,000, you're going to get $50 worth of the stock. Deposits $10,000 to get $300 worth of Nvidia. And deposit $50,000 to get $1,000 of free Nvidia shares. You're also going to qualify for an 8.1% APY on uninvested cash. That includes a 4.1% APY base rate plus a 4% APY extra for 3 months. And the offer ends very soon, so check out my links down below to get those free Nvidia shares. There's only 2 days left for the offer. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with the market. So one thing you'll notice is that the market started off on a high end. We came very close to that 650 target. I was hoping we would kind of like touch this and possibly turn back down just a little bit. Instead, we did not push to touch that. We actually started to turn back a lot more than expected. And the market did close where I thought it would close, near 645, but the problem was that we did actually dip a lot lower, and now we're starting to show signs of breaking structure if particular things end up panning out. Now, when it comes to SPY, we have not lost major support yet, right? We have not lost this trend line right here at 640. We have not broken below 633 yet. If this happens in September, yes, we could be dipping a lot lower to fill this gap, but we don't have confirmation yet. And it looks like the chart is trying to bounce here, so we could still start off next week with a small bounce, and we'll see if we make a lower high and get some kind of rejection or not. Now, what happened today was we got the PCE data, and this was all decent data. Everything was basically close to expectations. I already went over this data. But at 9:45 a.m., we got the Chicago PMI, and this was showing some weakness in that sector due to the employment sector. I think that's really affecting the manufacturing numbers. And then at 10 o'clock a.m., we saw a decrease in consumer sentiment. This was below expectations, and this is what caused the market to dip to a small extent. But it wasn't that bad of a sell-off. You have to consider that SPY was around, the 648 area yesterday. We're only at 643. We're down 3 points, which is still not bad. We're still holding up well, so we should not turn extremely bearish yet. And always remember to follow the trend. Now, we could turn more bearish in September because historically, September tends to be the most bearish month of the year. When you look at our data, most of the time when you look at these white bars, each of the white bars is a September from each year. You can see the majority of these white bars tend to be in the red. And then look at the last 5 years. We had a red September 5 years in a row. So there's a good chance it's going to likely happen again if we get the right pieces of data, or whatever the catalyst happens to be. I can't promise you it's going to be a fundamental catalyst. It could just be maybe something different. Maybe it's high inflation, maybe it's new tariffs, maybe it's something else, right? Whatever the catalyst is going to be, there's going to likely be some kind of like downtrend coming, but we need confirmation first just to kind of like solidify that. Next week is going to be very big. So Monday is going to be Labor Day. The stock market is going to be closed on Monday. We have a 3-day holiday. But on Tuesday, we have the ISM manufacturing numbers. That's going to likely cause volatility. Wednesday, we have some important JOLTS, job openings and job quits numbers, so I expect more volatility. Thursday, we basically have the ISM services numbers. That's going to likely cause volatility because services is a big sector in our economy. It's going to help us understand what's happening with employment and etc. And then on Friday, we have the very important unemployment numbers. This will also likely cause volatility. Once again, what's happening with our data is we're starting to show some weakness in manufacturing and such because of the employment sector. We're starting to see a slowdown in employment due to the higher interest rates and due to other ventures that are being invested upon. A lot of companies right now are investing a lot in automating systems, which is going to help them kind of like reduce employment. And then simultaneously, they're also investing in different sectors. We're also in a higher interest rate environment, which does, once again, typically cause higher unemployment. And with potential price increases, the inflationary situation is not in the clear yet. Core PCE went up just a little bit, although the numbers were close to expectations. if we continue to see another increase in inflation, right now business surveys do suggest that more businesses are still expecting higher prices. This could just be a temporary thing, but this is once again causing some shakiness within the economy, and I think that's really affecting our data. So that's part of why we're starting to see some weakness in our PMI data and manufacturing numbers. The market still has greed, but we're going to see how long this lasts. Momentum is back to neutral, so we're not extremely greedy now. We're back to neutral. And then the put to call option ratio has been dipping. We're at extreme greed. Typically, when we're at extreme greed, that's when the market's about to form a top. The VIX is neutral. We're going to see if it breaks out or not. Lastly, there's nothing for earnings on Monday due to Labor Day, but then this is what the calendar looks like. On Tuesday, we have Neo and a few more. On Wednesday, we have Dollar Tree, Macy's, Salesforce, and a couple more. On Thursday, we essentially have Broadcom, Lululemon, and a couple more. And that's pretty much it. There's nothing else that's way too significant. That's all we're seeing, at least for the time being. So let's talk about what's happening, at least so far, with the charts. So I want to look at the possibility of this being kind of like a left shoulder. This could be like a head, and then we're going to see if we're forming some kind of like right shoulder before we end up dipping. That is one possibility on SPY. And then I do think we're going to try to bounce a little bit. If we lose 642, we're looking for 640, then 638 to fill this imbalance. But if we're bullish, you want to see us break past 650 and hold above that to really break out. I feel that we might consolidate and start pushing back up for 648. And then we're going to see if we get some kind of rejection and turn right back down as we have a head and shoulders. So you want to be very, very careful. We were basically on a very, very nice uptrend, but I do want to give you guys a warning about the head and shoulders and the fact that we're entering September, which tends to be a more bearish period, at least for stocks. There's a bullish and a bearish case, but I do anticipate that for now, we're looking for a move higher for basically 546.5 to 5 to this resistance right up here. And then we're going to see if we essentially reject off this and make a lower high. If we break this, we're going to still be bullish. But if we come short, if we try to push a little bit higher from like a head and shoulders, we could return right back down like this. So we could be looking for a move to form a right shoulder. That's what I'm looking for, is the most likely possibility for the start of next week. Historically, the data does suggest that the first week of September tends to be bearish. I will go over more details about this in my video for tomorrow, but then we're going to see if we get some kind of rejection or not. For now, let's not try to predict way too far into the future. Let's see a temporary bounce for 646.5 to 648, and we'll see if you reject or not. On the QQQ, notice that we also have a giant head and shoulders forming, right? You basically have this left shoulder, right, a head, and a right shoulder, and we're going to see if this leads to a rejection or not. We're going to see if we basically bounce right here and get back above 572. If we're not, we could reject and start retesting 568. If that fails us, we could be dumping back down towards 562. So for now, we're going to see if we end up dipping or not. But I do think that this is going to bounce a little bit on Monday and retest 572 to the low 570s. And then we could turn lower as we have a potential head and shoulders. And this also aligns with, a double head and shoulders. This is like a head and shoulders, and this is a larger head and shoulders. That is the more bearish case. But if we're bullish and we get back above 580, then yes, we're back to bullish. We're going to be breaking out to new all-time highs and validate this. It's just that based off the fact that we have like a left shoulder head right here and a larger left shoulder head and then maybe a right shoulder forming, this makes me suspect that this is going to bounce temporarily for 575. But if we can't break this high, this could be a sign we're about to pivot and start dipping a little bit in September, as we typically do. So I want to give you guys a warning about that. Watch for confirmation just to be safe. Now, the IWM is still technically bullish. This is actually looking more decent than SPY in the QQQ, but I need to see this basically try to get back above 240 to really break out for 245. Now, I think that heading into next week, it's going to try to go higher. If we lose 234, we could be dipping lower for like 230, but as long as we're above this, we're favoring 238 to 240. We'll see if you reject or not. There's a slight bearish divergence here, so we're going to see how it ends up going, but I do anticipate 240 as a potential target. For ES, we're holding up while we have a bearish divergence though. But despite that, we're holding our 50 EMA and we could be bouncing back up for basically 6,500 or so. And even if we do bounce like that, is this going to be a left shoulder, head and right shoulder? Are we about to turn back down? Or do we just continue to break out to new all-time highs? I anticipate there's going to be some sideways price action and potentially some downside coming. Be very, very careful as we start off September, but look for a small bounce to start things off for 6,500. And we'll see if we make a lower high or not. NQ might be retesting 23,500. We'll see if we reject. Look for a small bounce, and we'll see if we turn back down. Also about NQ, I forgot to mention, we also have this like head and shoulders like pattern. We're going to see if we bounce, though I do think we retest 23,500, and then we'll see if we reject. For now, it's holding up quite well. Bitcoin's on a very, very nice downtrend. We're going to see if we bounce or not. We could retest 110,000. Then we'll see if we turn back down to 106,000. There's still some weakness. Tesla's looking very weak. We have a left shoulder, head, and right shoulder. Ever since the news came out about the European sales declining, Tesla's been very weak. We need to get back above 337 to bounce. If not, we could be dumping back down to about 325. So be very careful with Tesla's. The downside risk is there. Nvidia might retest 170. We'll see if we bounce. We like to bounce near 170 and reject near 184. So look for a test of 170. We'll see if we bounce. One concern I have about Nvidia, though, is that this is looking very symmetrical. So basically, look how symmetrical this is. We had one pop. We have like this arch right here. Then we have like another pop. Are we about to just kind of like pop and then start dipping? Is this going to be a symmetrical structure? Be careful with Nvidia. That could cause downside. Appl has a bearish divergence, but we need to try to hold above 234 to be bullish. If we lose 230, we could turn back down. I do think we retest 230 and we'll see if we bounce. For a few more, we have AMD, which is showing weakness. We're going to see if 160 holds. If not, we're looking for 158. Coinbase could also be dipping back down. We need to hold above 307. If not, we could be dipping towards 299. Be careful with coin. Amazon might be retesting essentially 227. If it doesn't hold, we could be dipping to 225. Meta might be dipping back down towards 731.5. Google might be pushing back up to 215 or above, so we'll give this the time it needs. And then Microsoft could also be dipping back down to 502, so we'll see if things hold. If not, we could be dipping lower. Last but not least, the VIX will likely gap up, and then we'll see if it rejects. Give this the time it needs, but I do anticipate that we're going to likely see some rejection here. So I'm going to kind of push like this and reject. And then we need to get above like 16.6 for this to start breaking out. So it might do something like this as the market starts to bounce a little bit before this starts to essentially push a lot higher. I still anticipate some upside later on in September for the VIX. So keep that in mind. Anyways, I thank you all so much for listening. I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your guys' weekends. I'll upload another video tomorrow. Until then, I wish you all nothing but the best. I want to keep this video short since it's Friday, and I just wish you guys a very, very awesome Labor Day weekend. Enjoy the holiday, and I'll see you guys very, very soon on the next one. Thank you for listening, and peace out.